Welcome back to Another Way to Think About It podcast, where we get curious about life beyond the obvious and its messy questions with humor and heart. I'm Cynthia. Here we have Lynn Kindler. She's my beautiful friend. She's my co-host, and she's a fellow executive career coach. And today we have an incredible guest. We'd love to welcome Jennifer Grace. She's a transformational coach to coaches. She helped me along my path. She's a film producer. She's an author, a radio show host for many years. She's a teacher, retreat leader, and founder of Raven and Grace Press. And she's a mother, and she has an incredible life mate named Sev. Jennifer, she helps so many people, mostly women, move from burnout and disconnection into lives that feel more aligned and meaningful and fully expressed. So here we go. We're going to talk about transformation. It's going to be messy, maybe not pretty, but powerful. Welcome, Jennifer. So happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So Lynn, where should we go from here?
Well, one of the questions I was going to ask, not only what's the biggest lie people believe about themselves, but what's a belief you hear all the time that immediately tells you this person's stuck?
I think at the bottom of everything is I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy. And then especially when I'm working with coaches, who am I to help and serve? I'm just starting out in this, or, do I even deserve the success? So things like that I'll hear, especially in the beginnings of the career, a lot of imposter syndrome comes up.
Yeah. Jennifer, when I was looking at your website, I was like, my goodness gracious, she's got to be like at least 3 people in one. How did she do all this?
Talk about that.
And just as a real human being and a soul flying along this path, it's like, did that just come naturally to you to just, the way that your life kind of unfolded and you stepped into different things? And how did that feel? Yeah.
Well, I think it comes, if we go back for a moment to my mother and how I was raised. My mother and Gloria Steinem started many women's centers back in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And so I grew up in this world of female empowerment. And I was told by my aunties and my mother every day that I was awesome and fabulous and could do anything. And I also watched the power of community, the power of partnership and collaboration, and women lifting each other up and helping each other. And so for all these success that I've had, I have never done it alone. I've always had a team, whether in the beginning I bartered my coaching for people to help me, to now having a team of almost 10 people that I get to pay well. But yeah, and always partnering up with other fabulous women to just help each other along the path. So yeah,
I think that.
Had some good empowerment as a child, and then was modeled that, and really stepped fully into that as an adult.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. That helps give us some insight into you, and what a incredible background. Wow, that must have been great being you growing up. And I love the way you've taken the gifts that you've been given, and it seems like it just naturally is part of you to like, well, of course I'm going to give this to other people.
Of course.
Right?
Of course. Yes. Because I have I work with a lot of people who have a lot of self-doubt and lack of self-love and trauma that they have gone through.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to not have a lot of trauma. And when I started in this world, I had a big story about that. Like, who am I to help others if I haven't been through what they've been through? And, I got really grounded in like, no, like I get to show up as like, this is what it looks like when you're loved and when you're empowered. I get to be a space for other people. And I have such a wide bandwidth to help and serve because I'm not carrying around a lot of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And
very powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. Go back to when you started out in the financial arena, Jen. You know
Yes.
that you started making some money, and talk about
Well,
that
it's
just for a
funny,
second.
so I had this mother and then the father. So the father was the Wall Street tycoon. And
Yeah.
then the mother was, starting women's centers and in the women's movement. And you can imagine by age 7, they got divorced, and so when they met
Yeah,
at 22,
sure.
they went on
Wow.
very different paths. And so, I had both of this context. And, in my early 20s, I'm like looking at my mom and all her female friends and going, oh, I don't know about that. I want to go make
Sure.
money on Wall Street. And then I turned 35 and I go, wait a minute. My mother knew what she was talking about.
Yeah.
And so just in my youth, I was very attracted to my father's lifestyle and
Sure.
that whole world, and then realized, that's not really where it was at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
nice to learn the business and that world to bring that to my
That's
coaches
exactly
because
right.
so many of my students are heart-based business owners and they're leading with their hearts and they're getting
Yeah.
certified and they're wanting to help and serve, but they don't have that business muscle. And so it was great to have that early time in my 20s to learn about business so that I could bring that to them and bring those two things together. So I kind of tried to take the best of both my parents.
I love
Oh,
that.
that's beautiful.
You know
Yeah.
what? I love that you're talking about. I just love you. I love the fact that you are talking about, well, I think it's good for me that grew up. I have had a very wonderful life. Don't get me wrong. And
Yeah.
I grew up with complex trauma. Me,
Yeah.
my parents, everything. And so I really enjoy hearing from somebody that's like, my life was good. And I get to show up and show people, here's what it looks like when you're raised in a very supporting, loving, good environment. And also that doesn't mean that, by the way, you're a soul just like all of us on here learning your way too. So, that's not.
And coming from parents that had heavy trauma and were cycle breakers. My mother was a child of incest and her father was her perpetrator and alcoholism. And so she's coming out of that and getting the healing and doing the work to not continue the cycle. And my father's father was very abusive. And so having my parents have tremendous trauma, and even in that day and age, getting the therapy and the healing and doing that deep work so that they could show up as parents that weren't continuing that cycle.
And I dare say that you're probably very empathic. And so learning not to take that on.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I would say? I'm very compassionate. I have noticed that there's with empathy, a lot of times you're taking in other people's stuff.
Yeah.
And I believe that I have found a way to have compassion, and I'm certainly empathetic, but I work with thousands of people. And so to be able to hear somebody's story, be there with them crying and then walking away and not holding it in my body has been a great service to my own self and my own good boundaries and healing. So that's an interesting thing, compassion and empathy. Like, I'm not an empath. I took a quiz. I got like a 1. Cynthia knows.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And you're a double Capricorn too, aren't you? Yeah.
She's snap out of it. I go talk to my healer. Here's the
You gotta go talk to Cynthia or Lynn. Right.
But you know what? No, that's great though. That's great. That distinction, because by the way, haven't you found in all the coaches that you've been teaching that one of the things we have to learn, because most of us are compassionate and empathic, is how to not take it in and carry it around, right?
Yeah. It's a tricky thing because we go into this work because we are heart-based, because we want to serve, because we
That's right.
care.
Heart-based.
And then if we do that to our own detriment, then we can become resentful and overwhelmed and exhausted. And so, yeah, boundaries are good. And
So,
there's all sorts of
yeah,
ways of doing that.
let me ask you a question. Sorry to interrupt, but how,
No.
Jen, how do you stay grounded in real life while doing this, deeper inner work you do
Yep.
for your own self? Because you continue to work on yourself. It's
Continue
not just
constantly.
just out there for others. You do it so you can have your growth and
I mean,
expansion.
as a leader, anytime I go through something, when my father passed away, the first thing I did was EMDR and breath work. When I
Oh,
had that time with Cole, when he went to go live with his dad for 6 months and just
yeah,
that I went and did the work that I needed to do. And then on a daily basis, I don't start a thing until after 10 a.m. in the morning. And as an empty nester now, I can do that and have that time. And when I couldn't, when Cole was home, I would take my, quick 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there. But I've always been really mindful. I feel like self-love is selflessness when you put the oxygen mask on first. I would take
mm,
solo retreats and get myself an Airbnb and take time away
yeah,
from, everybody and just regroup.
Yeah.
And so I'm really mindful about my time and intentional with my time so that I'm not pulled in too many directions. And I know about myself that I'm highly creative. And so it can get
yeah,
into the swirl, shiny thing and all over the place. And so I'm mindful about, let's do this project. Let's get it going. Let's have it have its proof. And then when that's coasting, let's do the next one. And let's make sure we don't do it alone, that we have team, that we have people there
I know
supporting.
that.
And
Well,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
and dare I say, Cynthia, that's where her Capricorn comes in handy.
Just yeah,
Yeah.
bring everybody in.
Well,
Yeah,
no, but what I love about that is that you can be creative and loving and grounded and structured.
Yeah.
That's how you came into this world, right?
Yeah. And then I have that Sag rising, which is like the fire and the outgoing one, and then the practical Cappy.
Yeah, that's awesome. What a great combo. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go
no,
ahead,
you
Lane.
go, Sin.
I call her Lane. That's my nickname for her,
Love
Lane.
that.
Okay, so I have a question. It's right here. Why did you start Raven and Gray's Press, a publishing company? This is a big one. So
Yeah.
go
This is
for
my
it.
new baby. And it was birthed out of just, again, listening to what my students needed. Cynthia has watched me over the years. I was the lead train the trainer for this amazing course from Stanford University called the
Yeah.
Clarity Catalyst, and trained all these beautiful coaches. And then they would say, wait a minute, we want to do radio show podcasts. We want to get a TED Talk like you. We want to write a book. Okay, guys. So then I started the Shine Your Light Academy, and I helped them write their books and do their TED Talks and do their podcasts and run retreats. And then the next thing was, okay, great. Now we have our book. It's really hard to get a publisher with Hay House or Simon and Schuster, and they didn't
Yeah.
want to self-publish. And so they were going to all these different hybrid publishers, and they would come back to me and say, they started out, they said it was 6,000, and now it's another 12,000 for the editing, another 8,000 for the marketing. And so I said, why don't I just start a publishing company? That's
Why not?
very transparent. Why not? And I got a partner, somebody
Yeah,
who's
she's
in
awesome, Lynn.
publishing for 20 years, Raven. She's
Mhm.
got her whole world is that. And we started 2 years ago. Our last 12 books all went to #1 bestsellers on
Wow.
Amazon.
Congratulations.
And then from that, everybody's like, I'm here in Nashville now, and there's no National Speakers Association. So I just said, well, I'll do it. So now I'm the president of NSA here in Nashville.
Of course you
Wow.
To write their books. But I got a team of, I enrolled 55 people to be founding members, and they all want to be on the board and they all want to help. And so it's like, I'm a community builder,
Yeah, you
just like
are.
my mother.
Yeah, you are. I didn't put that in your bio.
Let's all do it together. I am not, I might be the head of the team here, but like, I'm not doing anything alone.
But don't
And
you
I
think
love
that's a female thing too?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Not for every woman though. Some women have really been burned by
This is
others
true.
and they're afraid to partner up, And so I love it when a woman can find a really good partner and trust her and be in that world of women that are there to have each other's backs.
Yeah. It's so beautiful.
Uh,
Well, and I know you've had a great upbringing, Jen. I know that, and a lot of love in your life, continues to have a lot of love in your life, and you give a lot of love. But what have been some of those moments, um, that the hardest transformations that you've actually lived through?
Mm.
Would you say?
Well, I mean, definitely my divorce the first year was rough. And then I mentioned earlier when, it's like matters of the heart, when my son turned 14 and turned into the devil incarnate and my little sweet baby boy no longer.
It's a good story.
Everybody's got a teenager out there. And, he went to go live with his dad for 6 months. Those leveled me,
Yeah.
matters of the heart.
Yeah, yeah.
But in my career, I have had different power partners that have started and ended. And when they ended, it felt a little bit like the rug was pulled out. And I was like,
Yeah.
all eggs in the basket and like, oh, shoot, now what do we do? And, one of them was the Standard Hotel. I was there for many, 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 many years. And then all of a sudden, boom, COVID hits. It's like, wait a minute, how am I going to do business now? And then HCI came in pretty soon right after that. Okay. Then HCI ended. Then, okay, who's my next power partner? Then Mind Body Green showed up. But in between those power partners, and I'll explain more what I mean about that.
Yeah.
There would be these moments of, oh shit, what am I going to do now? Because I'm not the coach that goes on Facebook and posts and says, hey, I'm
You don't have to.
Well, because from the very beginning, I have always OPP'd it, other people's platforms. And so I'm like, I need to be on Hay House so that I could then have OPP, other people's platform. They gave me a radio show where I was sandwiched in between Wayne Dyer and Esther Hicks for years.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Took, the training to the whole next level, my career to the next level. Yeah. The Standard Hotel, #1 hotel in Miami that has very affluent and spiritual people. They were marketing me. Then I get with HCI, they're marketing me, Mind Body Green, and so, but
tell her what is HCI? She doesn't know these.
Health Coach Institute.
Yeah.
So I'll work with different companies that will send me people that will get, like Jennifer Grace is their bonus. And there'll be some people who then want to go on from there to work with me and go on my retreats or do my certifications or my Shine Your Light program. And so instead of me paying for ads or going down the street, I prefer to have power partners.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
So here I am with Raven and Grace. I've got multiple power partners. So if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I've got a friend who wants to write a book and I'm going to send them to you, then I give them a commission.
Yeah, that's so smart. And that's, that's a perfect combo with the way that you are about working with others in community. That's your value.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for everybody. So people love to create passive income. People love to, and I'm always very transparent about it, and that's how I've always done business.
Well, there's a question I wanted to ask, but it kind of is out of sync with what we're talking about.
No, it's not.
You've reinvented yourself, or it looks like that. Evolved yourself multiple times, but what actually forced these shifts, or did something force it?
Yeah. I mean, Wall Street met the husband and then didn't have to work for the beginning of that marriage. And so went back into my first love, which was comedic actress. started a film company. Then the divorce happened. And then, of course, oh, shoot, now I got to make money. And I wasn't making enough money as a SAG actor in South Florida. And so then I went on this, I started 6 companies, 6 websites, 6 failures, because I was just all over the place. And then I found Clarity Catalyst in 2007. And I took that training and I put everything up on the shelf and I just went in. And those companies that I was starting with, this one said, oh, well, you want to do this nonprofit with me? You'd be great at that. Do you want to be a photography manager with me? You'd be great at that. Everybody was telling me what I would be great at. And I wasn't listening to who I was.
Yeah.
And that's what Clarity Catalyst gave me, an opportunity to turn off all the noise and to meditate and to journal and to do mindfulness practices and really listen to my own voice of wisdom. And halfway through the course, this is 2007. I'm like, this is a job. Like I could teach this as a profession. And immediately I told the trainer, I was like, I want to get certified. She's like, well, finish the course first. See how you
Of course you did.
And she said, well, go look at ICF and look at this one. And now I said, no, this is it. This is what I want to do. And then I did not look away for 18 years. I wrote that course, and Clarity Catalyst. And then I wrote the book and then the TED Talk and all the things, but I'm writing this one horse. And I still feel like Raven and Grace Press is still under this umbrella of serving my community.
Of course,
it's like, here's this program and here's that. Now you guys want to learn retreats. I'll teach you this. Now you want to write your books. I'll start a book company. And so it's really all in service of my certified trainers and what do they need. Now, other people are coming to me now who also want to write their books, but it all started from that space of listening to my community and really what do they want to learn next and what do they need next.
You're you, so you don't know how you look to other people or experience you. You know what I mean? That's obvious. By the way, my husband David actually has a notebook that he keeps lineisms, which are sayings that I say that are like,
what? That's so cute because my boyfriend says he calls them gracisms. I love it.
Right? But it's amazing to me that you get a divorce and you're doing your thing. So you don't think anything of starting 6 companies. Regardless of the fact that you needed to figure out who you were and what you were doing, your first thing was not about going and getting a job, but I'm going to go start 6 companies. I love that.
Yeah, I have a very entrepreneurial spirit.
You do, which is awesome.
You do.
Yeah. And like my mother she's an entrepreneur. My father was a company guy. He worked on Wall Street for a company, but my mother, she was very on her own, building really an empire of peace.
Yeah.
She never made a lot of money.
Yeah.
But she changed thousands and thousands of lives.
Wow. I did not know the depth of that about your mom.
Okay. So here's a question. When your work actually works, what changes for someone in their real life?
I feel like they finally feel authentic in their own skin. They're in alignment with the truth of who they are. They show up, not here I am, just here I am. Mm-hmm. And they're waking up every morning excited, doing what they love and loving what they do, making a difference, making an income, leaving a legacy. Mm. Yeah. So fully in their power.
So what if
it doesn't just take me? It takes also doing deep work, which is why I'm always like, here's a great EMDR therapist. Here's a great breath worker. There's the transformational journey and then there's the healing journey. And many people need both to really get there, because I could give somebody all the tools in the world to have a successful career. But if their conversation underneath that is, I am unworthy of that, that will continually show up as self-sabotage. And there is no shortcut. No. You can't go around it. You've got to go through it.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 questions. What do people misunderstand about mindfulness or transformation?
Oh, that's good.
And what does spiritual bypass look like?
Yeah. Well, I think, if you're just like, everything's good and I'm just, going to positively thinking and ignoring, the deep truth and feeling those feelings, it's like, we don't want to get stuck in them for too long, but we have to really get honest and feel the feelings and release them. And I think there's a place for talk therapy, but what I love about that deeper work of transformation is the body work, where our issues are in our tissues. And if we don't release the unresolved trauma, it's going to keep blocking us. And I always tell my trainers, I'm like, listen, your tribe is out there waiting for you. And if you allow your fear and your self-doubt to be in the way of that, the world is going to be less because of it. And it's not just about the tools. You've got to go do the deep work. And many times people will want to work with me and I'll say, you're not ready yet. You've got to heal and come back. And that was the series we wrote, was Heal to Lead. How do you heal yourself in order to step up in leadership? And so a lot of the work I do on retreats is I bring in healers to do deep, deep work. I'm doing a retreat in Sweden this summer with my best friend, Jo Engelson, who does Rewired for Peace. And she has an incredible transformational training that goes very deep into mother wound, father wound, really for leaders to do that deep work so that they can step up, still heart beating, hands sweating, knees shaking, but they're able to step up and out because they're doing that deeper work.
That's powerful.
The first time I ever went through a ropes course, Jennifer, I remember being however many high feet I was off the ground, walking on that little tiny wire and feeling it feeling fear all in my body and walking through it, but feeling supported by the ballast and by the people around me. And that actually was a good background for me to have to get into somatic therapy and understand, right, about feeling it in your body. Yeah.
Yes. Somatic therapy, all the different kinds are so powerful, and dance and movement and 5 rhythms.
Yeah, that's mine.
Cranial sacral. I mean, it's just, all of it is so powerful. And I think all the modalities are amazing. You just got to find the one that's going to unhook you and do that work.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I'll do that work. That's where I'll go. Listen, go do the work. When you're ready for the Capricorn, you're with me. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. Don't cry to me. Let's go. You want to cry? Go call the therapist.
She's like balls to the walls.
I love that. I was raised by a fighter pilot, defense attaché. And I'm married to a guy that was born in Israel and grew up in Brooklyn. So I'm used to
I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey!
Oh, wow.
He was raised off Avenue Z. It's a lot different place than when he was there.
You tell him I was raised in Bensonhurst with my dad and Park Slope with my mother.
Yep, you got it. So I have strong humans in my background, right?
Yes, you do.
But I like it. I like it when people. That's why Cynthia and I have been able to weather all the things that we've been through.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. You've referred about noticing when someone's not ready for the work. What do you notice, and how do you handle that?
Well, what I notice is I'm coaching them to step into something, and they're, procrastinating, and they're like, I'm a perfectionist. I'm like, no, there's a fear of failure or there's a fear of success. Let's bring it up and what's going on underneath the surface. So I'll see them just, kind of going in circles, and I'm like, what are we doing here? What's really going on with you right now?
Yeah.
And 99.999% of the time, there's unresolved trauma that hasn't been dealt with.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
the truth. And some just, they just are not ready, or, it's not the right time always for everybody to do that deep work. I do feel like craniosacral, EMDR, somatic work, it doesn't have to be 25 years of psychoanalytical therapy.
No,
You can go
no.
to 6 months of sessions, and what has had you for years and decades can be unhooked
I do.
like that.
I do.
Saw it with my mother.
Yep.
You know, she was in years of therapy for her incest and her sexual abuse trauma. And it
Wow.
was cranial sacral and the EMDR that really got her to the other side of it.
I love that. So
Question.
what still challenges you personally, Miss Jennifer, even with all this work?
Oh God. I don't know. I'm in a season right now. I mean, I'm 55. I'm living in my dream house with my dream man, and I've got a fabulous son who's thriving. This kid is 25.
Oh,
He's a homeowner of 4 homes and
Wow.
making $100,000 a year doing real estate with a construction company. He's doing $10 million spec homes. He's killing it. I'm at the top of my game in my career. I've got great friends. I mean, knock on wood.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I busted my butt for 18 years to get here, and I would hope that there is a here, and I'm in receiving.
Yes, thank you.
All
Boom.
work, and everybody, oh, you're such a great manifester. No, I busted my ass.
Yeah, right.
Fucking A. People think, oh yeah, look at me, I look good. We work it, guys. It's not like
but Jennifer, what's that thing that they say about the open door and luck and how it all, doing the work. So
there's no overnight success. There's no, I mean, it's just doing the practices.
Yeah.
Doing the daily practices, whatever that is for you, prayer, meditation, journaling, walking, communing with yourself, listening to your own intuition, doing the deep healing work. Even for myself, I don't have any trauma. I constantly am doing not constantly, but every 3 years, I will go back in as a student and do deep work. I am always the student, and so doing that work and then, just showing up for life. And
that's very smart on a lot of ways, because if you have somebody like me, I'm always looking for the Navajo thread in somebody, especially if they're a leader and a teacher and teaching important stuff. I'm always looking for, who are you really? Can I trust you?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Right? Because, a lot of us, like on a scale of 1 to 10, I was on 1 -2 for a long time, right? And so I love it when somebody like you I love that you're so open about who you are and where you've come from, and that, even, and that's got quotes around it, somebody like you still goes back and does, let me be the student.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I do scary work. Like, I go in and get my guts ripped out and thrown around and stuff back in. I don't do the easy woo stuff, like I'll really go do deep work.
Yeah, I believe that.
Guys,
go in and I'm like, this is me. I'm like, I don't know what I don't know.
That's true.
So
well, that's humble. That's
open.
humble. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a strong humility about you. It's like,
I hope I'm still learning at 90, and I hope I'm still doing this work.
Too.
We can do it right in the comfort of our own homes now. So it's fabulous.
I know. And I get to take my new husband, Jen.
You guys got married?
We got married.
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. He's lovely.
He's a very good human. I really like
him. He's my guy.
He's a fellow Aries.
Yeah, he is a fellow Aries. Yeah, good men. I've always been fortunate about good men. They just sometimes die on you. No, Lynn gets my humor. But anyway, yeah.
Okay, I have one question before I go into the outro, which is, if someone knows their life no longer fits, but they're scared to change it, what would you say to them? And what's the first real steps? Not the ideal one, the real one that you would recommend that they do.
Well, I always say don't quit your day job.
Yeah.
And do the practices, whatever that is for you, to get real clarity. I think following the crumbs of curiosity, the things that are your fields of fascination that you could talk about, eat, sleep, watch movies and books, and just till the cows come home. That's a crumb to follow. And then start talking to people. When I was interested in becoming a coach and a trainer, I talked to business coaches and life coaches and health coaches, and I asked them, where did you get certified, and what's the pros and cons, and what did you pay for your certification, and like, how do you market yourself? And then when I got a radio show, I called up all these radio show hosts and I said, how do you interview people? And always, asking people that are successful in what you may want to try. And the cool thing about this is successful people love to talk about themselves.
Yeah, they do.
And, you might reach out and a bunch of them say no, but I always say every no is secretly leading you to your yes.
Yep.
And if they say yes, you want to be ready with those 10 questions and be succinct and say, I only need 15 minutes of your time. And I promise you, those 15 minutes will turn into an hour, and just sit there and take notes and and just start exploring it, and going down those different rabbit holes and having conversations and journaling and sitting with it. But if you can figure out whatever you love, to make that your job, you will never work a day in your life.
Yeah, right. Oh, I need to hear that too. And
I know.
I'm actually doing what I love too. Anyway, you know what, Jennifer, when I was 11, I remember learning about Grandma Moses and seeing her artwork and loving it. And I remember even at that young age, I remember thinking, oh, that's cool. It took her until she was in her late 80s and 90s to really get going. Little did I know. So I love that. So, Cynthia, did you want to ask her one last question before?
I do, but we do need to wrap this up. Hey, Jen, talk about what's happening next for you, so we can put that as an advertisement out there for you.
Absolutely. Well, I'm always running wonderful retreats all over the world. So that can be found at jennifergrace.com under Journeys. And with Raven and Grace Press, twice a year, we do a book contest. So we have 2 months where we create a container that every Monday night we write together to get the book out of our head and into the world. And then everybody gives in their shitty first draft. We pick top 5, and then one person wins the book publishing deal with us. And the next one started on May 19th. And you can go to ravenandgrace.com/podcast to find out all about that.
That's great.
Okay.
Wow. I'm motivated.
Lynn's a writer. She's a writer. She has a book in her.
Come to the it's $97. That's it.
Oh my goodness. I want to do that. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
And they she's a that company's publishing, and how do you get it out there?
Well, we're distributed through one of the big 5, Ingram Spark. So we're in 347 bookstores, Barnes and Nobles, Books and Books, Books A Million, Amazon, of course. Yeah, it's a real publishing company.
Well, my AI thought partner Guthrie will be thrilled with this, because it has been trying to get me to do this forever. So.
Well, nothing like a deadline and nothing like a community to hold you accountable to write.
This is true. And by the way, I'm one of those people that I can come up with 1,000 words like that.
I love it. So all you need is 40 to 50,000 words is a nice size.
That's it. That's it, Lynn.
Okay, Cynthia, hold me to it.
I'm telling you, you need this.
Yes, it would be so fun to have you in with me every Monday night. I would love it.
I would love it. So Jennifer, this was powerful and fun, and you're lovely, and I really, really appreciate your honesty and your depth. And
well, I'd do anything for Cynthia.
Oh,
he feels
sweetheart.
the same way about you. So
Yeah.
thank you, everyone, for listening. If something stirred you while you were listening, follow us, hit subscribe, and join us next time for another honest and curious conversation. You can find Jennifer Grace's work, including Raven and Grace Press, in our show notes below. And as always, thank you for being here with us. Stay open, stay curious, keep thinking differently.